Okay. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well today. We're going to run through the project management system, and actually we're going to show you a bit of two systems today. Most of you should be Sage Timberline Office users, and as many of you may know, or a few of you may know, Sage is in the process of rebranding their products, and though officially the name hasn't changed yet, and I think that's only a few weeks out, in the near future, Sage Timberline Office will become Sage 300 for construction and real estate. Anyway, I want to thank everybody. We're going to go through a few PowerPoint slides. I didn't even count them. I think they're 10 or 12. And we will then move into the product itself. We've allocated an hour. I always try to wind these up a few minutes early to leave a little time for question and answer. And hang on just one second. My door isn't quite closed, and there's a little noise coming in. That will distract me, so I'm back with you. So as you can see by the first page of the PowerPoint, I'm your presenter, and I've been working with Timberline in various ways for about 30 years. That picture was taken about 25 years ago, not really. But as we move forward, most of you know who Alliance Solutions is and also who Sage is, but we want to remind everybody, of course, Alliance Solutions Group operates in Florida, Texas, and California, and does a fair amount of work in the Caribbean as well. Just as a reminder, even though most of us have been around much longer than this, we actually founded this particular organization in 2005. I said some of us have been around since 83 and before. We are the #1 dealer for Sage products in their construction and real estate group. We are also the #1 dealer for Sage products through all of North America, all of their products, ACT and Abra and various other products. We currently have about 4,000 customers. We're profitable and have been growing. We have about 70 different training and support resources that are affiliated directly with Alliance Solutions. Last year we installed over 100 new systems, new customers that had previously not had any products from Sage, and quite happy with that considering the state of the economy and the sector we all work in. And as a side note, not everybody knows this, but we do have a division called ASG Services based in California that does custom development work and writes little add-on applications that work with the Timberline products primarily. So if you've got some little different processes you'd like to see automated that pull information from Timberline and so forth, we can work with you on that. Real quickly, just remind everybody who Sage is. Some folks may not have caught all the details after Sage acquired Timberline a number of years ago. They're based in Newcastle, England. They're traded on the London Stock Exchange. They're part of the FTSE, which is similar to the Dow here in the States. Currently have 6.2 million customers worldwide, about half of those in North America. Sales exceeded $2.4 billion in 2011. About half of that revenue is in North America, just a little less than half of it in North America. Of course, they have a philosophy of a customer for life, so we have a series of products that we can move people up through, and you guys are on our primary product these days. And of course, Sage is the third largest provider of software to small and medium-sized businesses in the world. And of course, Microsoft and SAP are #1 and #2 in that space for those who are interested. So we're going to move very quickly right into a couple of defining components, in terms of where Timberline stands in the market. The Construction Financial Management Association ranks Timberline Office, the product you're using today, as the #1 job cost accounting system among all contractors in North America. Quite frankly, we have about twice as many customers, maybe even 3, 4, or 5 times as many customers as our next nearest competitor. What's more important as it relates to today's presentation is that even though we compete in a space with lots of dedicated project management only applications, the CFMA survey shows that a higher percentage of contractors use our project management system than any other product out there in the market space. And as some of you know, CPA Technology Advisor, obviously a magazine that goes out to CPAs about technology type stuff, gives us a lot of 5-star rankings in reference to our Timberline office products. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that today because you mostly came to see project management. So we'll continue on. I'm going to hit a few slides here primarily on what any project management system should have, and then we'll hit a slide that talks about what we have in Timberline Office. So obviously, an overused term many times is ease of use. Obviously, the product needs to be easy to use and easy to learn. What we heard from our customers before we wrote our project management system is we don't want the system overloaded with excessive features that we don't use. We want the core functionality there, and that helps keep things simple and easy to learn. Obviously, we want it to integrate with other applications. Many of our customers were using some of these freestanding project management systems, and they were not unhappy with them other than they had excessive features and that they didn't use, and that they didn't integrate with the other applications. So you want, for instance, your project management system contracts to integrate with your receivable system. You'll want the system to integrate and generate, for instance, progress billing, AIA G702, G703 type billing. You'll want to have your project management system integrate with estimating changes and change orders and many other things out there. Of course, you want professional looking documents because you are a professional organization, and we want to be proactive in having the system remind us and email us about things that need to be done. And of course, Microsoft controls a big chunk of the world out there in terms of productivity tools, and we want to be able to integrate with Outlook, Word, and Excel. Now, if we look at Timberline's project management, and as I thought about it, I probably should have put Timberline or Sage Timberline Office out there. These are some of the core functionalities you'll see in the product, and we're going to drive through these in the presentation today. The transmittals, submittals, RFIs, meeting minutes, correspondence logs, daily field reports, drawing logs, custom logs, the ability to create and track various logs unique to your company, photo logs or safety logs or punch lists, let's say. Change order processing, automatic notification of past due items, anything that needs attention. And we'll touch very briefly on the My Assistant program, which automates all those notifications for us. And of course, we'll want to make sure we can do some AIA billing. So now, the other thing we're going to talk about today, so there are two components we're going to talk about. Relatively new, and some of you may have heard of it, is Sage Construction Anywhere. As most of you are aware, the web has become an influence in the world today, and more people want to have the ability to access the web from various devices like mobile phones and iPads and other, tablet type devices, or essentially anywhere where they have an internet browser. And Sage has been working for a couple of years and recently released the first release of Sage Construction Anywhere. It is a cloud-based access system to your existing on-premises Sage Timberline Office system. Currently, it's got basic functionality. We'll talk about that, but there will be more project management functionality added to it as time goes on. And as I mentioned earlier, it is already shipping. And at some point, if some of you are interested, we can talk about pricing, which is quite aggressive and very inexpensive, we believe. So, Cloud Vision, as I mentioned earlier, is to not move your data that sits in your office up to the cloud, where it's sometimes less secure. What we're going to do is connect the cloud to your server and request data as needed. We're going to focus not on accounting, but on operational areas, which flows right into project management. Unlike the process that we see with most enhancements in Timberline Office, where essentially once a year there's a big enhancement release, the new features of our cloud service will be rolled out almost continually. Every 3 or 4 months you'll see new features show up in the product. The services can be sold on a standalone basis. Eventually there'll be additional functionality into the accounting system. What we want to see is the same customer-facing experience across all of our product lines, understanding that we have 3 different vertical lines that we sell into the construction space. All of them will connect and be able to interchange data via the cloud service. So what this means is if I'm a general contractor using Timberline, and I'm also a different subcontractor using Timberline or a master builder, we eventually will allow you to pass information back and forth in an environment where you're doing collaborative work. Okay, and of course the software is designed completely differently from the ground up for a cloud environment. So you can't just take a product like Timberline that's been around for a few years and just toss it into the cloud and expect it to work. That's why we're writing a new system from scratch. Now, real quickly, you have, for instance, your Timberline Office system, a general contractor using Timberline. Of course, we've got the Sage Construction Anywhere out on the web, and we put our connector in between. And so what we're going to do is move data as requested. So I'm on my iPad out in the field, and I request data from the system. It goes down, pulls the data, and passes it back, so your data remains on the server in your office. Okay, and the current release gives us some project reporting information. It sets up the user parameters, security. There's a lot of foundation that had to be built in the first release. Now the functionality will come along. There are automatic notifications and map functionality. And we'll show you a little bit of this today. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. So without much more, we're going to move on into the presentation. We'll come back for questions and answers, and I'll bring the screen back up so you have my email address and our phone number if you need it. So let me drop out of this. And oops, let's see, I'm supposed to start that. So we'll dismiss that particular notice. And I'm going to bring up the desktop. Most of you, I hope, are familiar with the Sage desktop. It's been around for a number of years. I pulled one up that a typical project manager may see. This is going to display information that is important to a project manager on a project-by-project basis based on how he's got the design set up. So I can move from one project to the next project if I've got 2 or 3 projects going as a project manager, and see very current information about what's going on my particular projects. Now, that being said, I'm not going to drill into each one of these. These are reporting functions right here. And I could also show you how very quickly I could go directly to any given set of information I want to work with inside the application. What I'm going to go ahead and do, I could start project management from here, but I've already got it running, so I'm going to go ahead and hit project management right there. And this is the particular application that we've designed. I should have mentioned earlier, for those of you who think of project management, we always like to make sure everybody understands that there's a differentiating factor between project management and project scheduling. Project management is all of the paperwork side of the equation: transmittals, submittals, RFIs, meeting minutes, contracts and change orders and so on. Project scheduling is my critical path schedule. We make no attempt to do critical path scheduling in this application. And with that being said, I'm going to kind of very quickly move through a number of functions here so that we don't run out of time. I can easily spend a couple hours just on project management and a presentation. And our intent today is to not teach you everything there is to know about these products, but more to let you see the overview and understand the depth of the product. And if you are interested in exploring it more, we can certainly arrange one-on-one presentations. So under, we've got several different tags that I'll work with here. One is documents, contract control, and setup. Now I'm going to start with job setup. Now understand we are connecting to Timberline Office, so if I hit the Find button, okay, I'm going to actually see all the jobs. There is in fact only one job record in the system, and the project management and the job cost system use both of those. And so we can pull up existing projects and look at information on those projects. If we've got contacts set up, if we've defined some spec sections, you know, information about the scope of the job, and you know, days to respond to, let's say, RFIs, and our change management. We can, as we get into the change orders, we have the ability to define if we have contractual agreements on how much we mark up for overhead and profit. We can define those here so that when we process change orders, we'll see that. I like to point out that I can come down here, for instance, and see where it says BD 901. This is a job I created earlier today. I can create jobs in project management that have not been, are not going to be used in accounting yet. And I can designate them with special number or ID so that the people in accounting don't try to work it. But as I'm working through a bid process, I may in fact have transmittals, RFIs, possibly submittals, and other pieces of paperwork, certainly correspondence logs, tracking phone calls and emails, all flowing information. And I want to keep that information, particularly if I am strong enough to be the person who gets the job. You know, this all becomes part of my job documentation in the pre-bid scenario. Once it becomes a real job, I can simply hit the renumber button, and we will renumber this job into an actual job number that my accounting group is familiar with, and we can start processing costs and budgets and so forth against it. So now, in addition to you know, basic information, most of you, I hope, are familiar with the Timberline address book. Obviously, I can build a job contact list by job, and from that list, I can build multiple lists for distribution. Because the software is fully enabled with emails and faxes if you want, we could then send communication out by distribution list, and again, makes us much more efficient. So now, having said that, I'm going to move off of job setup and just come down, and I'm actually just going to run down the list in no particular order. I want to give one, actually I take that back. I'm going to go ahead and start with RFIs because I can show several functionalities here. Now, you're going to see a little bit different look and feel from your typical Timberline application. If I look at this form, I say find, and let's say underground storage tank. You can see it broken into sections, but if I click a button, guess what? There are all my jobs, okay? If I hit this button here, I'm going to go right to my address book, and I can look up people by name or by company name or by contact. So information about this RFI, what the urgency is, what spec section it's associated with, if there's a drawing associated with it, what is the issue, okay? Does it impact our schedule? Does it impact our cost? In this case, we've already had a response, and we've put the response in the RFI. So we've got this RFI built out, ready to go. Once I've made changes, I need to save those changes. Once I've done those, I can, if I want to print preview, give me just a second here for it to generate the form. Understand all the forms we're using are user-defined. We give you a number of forms that are set up and ready to go. There are 4 or 5 formats of each. You're going to put your logos in and lay out your form the way you want and make it as pretty as you'd like or not. Now, once I've got a form ready to go, notice I can press the transmittal button, and it knows that I'm working on an RFI, so it says the document I'm transmitting is an RFI. If I had other documents to send along, I could select those off the list. Let me open this window open a little bit more. And as we look at the window here, you'll see a number of boxes here. We can actually change the descriptions for each of these check boxes. Same thing down here with each of these check boxes. And who is it from? We can select off our list if we want to do that. Now, having put all this together, probably want to save what I've got here, and then I want to either print it, and we'll do a print preview again, show you what a transmittal looks like. And again, you'll be able to lay out your forms the way you want, make any changes you'd like. Or what we're more likely to do is hit the send button. And we hit the send button, we get George, and we like to send via email to George. And guess what? I don't have an email address for George, so I could key one in. Normally, we're going to pull the email address directly from their address book. And I could add more people to the list if I wanted to. And it is going to generate and turn into PDFs the transmittal and the RFI. This is the subject of the email and the message, and this is going to be sent out through Outlook, through your own Outlook system. If we have other attachments, drawings, or other things we want to attach, we can go ahead and hit this button and go anywhere on our local computer or network to grab additional attachments to send along with this. Now, depending on the settings that we have in the system, we may or may not be, I'm not going to send this, we may or may not be making entries to our correspondence log. It's strictly up to you whether you want to do that, and we think it's probably a pretty good idea, but we're keeping a copy of that in the system all the time as it is. Of course, if we look at the correspondence log, we can see everything, every bit of correspondence that's been running, and I can sort any column. Who am I looking for? Who did I send it to? What was the subject? What is the status? Due dates? Did it come in via email? We can sort through all of these. And what's very nice about this is we're directly connected to Outlook itself. So I'm going to start a new email. I hope I'm going to start a new email. There we go. I'm going to send this to John Ham, and I like to use the leaks because that's what happens at my house too often. In my roof, water leaks come quick. Type whatever notes, insert whatever pictures. Now, once we've got this email ready to go, we can hit the add-in button, and notice it says add to log. If I click this button, here are all of my jobs. Okay, so I come down here to Northwest Food Warehouse, and I hit the send button, and it tells me that word is not in the dictionary, nor is that one. And notice it tells me an entry has been made to the correspondence log. Okay, if I come look at the correspondence log right now, we're not going to see anything. I need to close it or change which job I'm on because it needs to refresh the data. And we will find, if we've done this all right, the entry, there it is, get to the right place. And I click on that, and here's my email right there that I sent earlier. So not only have we made an entry into Outlook, but if somebody deletes that out of Outlook in the future, we are also going to be able to have a copy that's permanently stored in the correspondence log of the project management system. This link is also available in Excel and Word. So if I write a letter, if I put a spreadsheet together, I can link all of these things right to the correspondence logs. Okay, let's see. I just glanced at my watch to make sure moving along at a reasonable pace. Drawing logs. We have different types of plans that come in over the course of a project. We can mark which plans are our current plans. We can display only the current plans if we want to. If we want to, we can come in. I don't know whether I've got any history on any of these. We can look at, we can look and see who these drawings have been sent to and when they were sent. The system's going to track all of that for me. And I can actually come in and make notes. There we go, just a little slow. And I can make notes about who I sent them to and when I sent them, if I'd like to do that. Pretty straightforward. We can track, as you can guess, drawings, revisions of those drawings, and sketches as they come in. And again, you get a full list. And if we wanted to sort this by different disciplines, we can certainly do that without any problem. We come over here. We'll move on to meeting minutes. Some companies use meeting minutes extensively. Some companies use them sparingly or not at all. But what we're going to allow you to do is if you're running regular meetings on projects, I'm going to open an existing meeting. Now, it's a fairly busy screen here. There's a lot of information. So we've got these little buttons that allow us to minimize the information we're displaying. So when I click these buttons, we're going to see that we're going on to meeting number 9. Our previous meeting was meeting number 8. And these are the people who attended my last meeting. Now, I can assume most of them are attending this meeting. Now, let's say that I've got somebody new coming into this meeting. I can hit this button and it goes to the list on my job. If I hit this button, it goes directly to my address book, so I can add new people to the list. So I can check off who's there. And I should point out that all of these columns that you see all the time that I'm sorting through have a number of columns that can be turned on or turned off as you need them. Now, once I've set up what meeting I'm having and who's attending, now I need to get into the issues that I'm dealing with. So you can see there are a number of issues here. This is from meeting number 1, issue number 3, meeting number 2, issue number 3. We get on down here toward the end. We're at meeting number 8. And if I hit new item, we'll see meeting number 9, and I can type in new water leaks. And we can say who's responsible for this, and when do we expect a response back on this, next week. And if I check the box closed, these will be removed from our list. We can make a description, and we can put in notes about what's happened. If we've got attachments, we have the ability to put attachments in by line item and track all of this information. Once I've got a meeting finished, we can simply say save. I can put a transmittal on the front side of it. Once that's ready to go, I check the appropriate boxes, and when I hit send, I need to save first. The system's going to bring this up, and if I had set up as email as my standard, it would have pre-filled the emails there, and it's going to create a transmittal and the meeting minutes in a PDF and email those out within a matter of minutes after you finish the meetings. So we pass that information off to all of the appropriate people. So as we continue on, I'm going to close out the meeting minutes. Submittals are tracked much the same way as as RFIs are. The project spec section, let's just pull one up here. Putting reinforcement, revisions, core information, and including required dates, start, finish, on-site, actual dates. And again, same buttons you see on the side here. We can put a transmittal on the front side. We can print it if we want to in a print preview format in this case. And we can obviously email it out. And, again, you'll design the forms or modify the forms to fit your particular company's requirements. So we'll cancel out of that at this point. Continuing on is field reports. a lot of times called daily reports or daily field reports. And essentially this is going to allow us to go through and track what's going on a project on a day-to-day basis. So based on the various projects I've got out here, we've got meeting minutes that are, not meeting minutes, but daily field reports that are in the system. And notice some of them are finalized. And once they're finalized, we're not going to let you go back and change those. But I can open up one that's already out there. I can also do a lot of searching by keywords within the application. And as we come through, you'll see here's the date of the report. And as we look forward through the application, we'll see a number of tabs, and they correspond to the types of information we need to track. Now, I should point out at this point in time that not only does Sage Construction Anywhere in the future plan to fill this information in or create their own field work reports, there are applications, third-party applications available today that already work on the web, so that somebody working with an iPad or an internet connection out at a job site could fill this information in via an Internet Explorer browser, and the information would flow back into your home office and populate this system. As you can see, you can track the weather. Okay, if you're using the web-based applications, you can click a button and it automatically fills that in for you. What labor was on the job today? If we're going to interface with Timberline's payroll system, okay, we can fill in who the employees are and what hours they worked, and then we can check off when we're ready to send that information over into the payroll system. What subcontractors were on the project today? And again, as I said earlier, if we look carefully, there are all kinds of columns that can be turned on or off, and if we're not using a lot of columns, I'll leave the notes on, you know, the list of, or the number of rows of columns changes significantly, and of course we can make these all smaller so the screens are easier to work with. So what equipment we had on the site today, this does not, in fact, interface sending any information into the Timberline equipment cost. It does read the equipment list in the equipment cost application. What materials were delivered to the job today, what work activities have we done today, and if we're tracking production units, what number of units went in place today, additional pieces of information we may need to track, whether it's change orders or change requests, or an extra that we're going to be working on. Events, accidents, safety violations. Again, you'll create your own list, what time, who was involved, and again, there's some user-defined field. If we had any visitors on the site, if we had a inspection from OSHA show up, we can track all of that stuff. And you know, we can also make journal entries just to track various pieces of information. It's kind of a catch-all to track other pieces of information you may need to track related to a daily field report. Once this is all created, obviously we can generate this out into a report format. So moving along, we have, last but not least, under documents is what we refer to as custom logs. I've been, you can see photo logs, punch lists, safety notices. You know, if I click on photo logs, we can see this information. If we want to, we could have photos attached, okay, to each of those. But what's important is, much like custom fields in your regular Timberline applications, we create the custom log and the fields that go in each log. Very easily done through the creation of custom logs. And we will create a new one called webinar. And I can simply come through and say the first thing you want to track is a date. Let's do it like this. And I want to track a date and who's responsible. And we can say we want to pull that from our contact list. And what? is the issue, and we just want to put in a text box of a certain size. I'm going to leave it at 25 characters, and we're going to say status, and we can create a list. Let's say open, pending, pre-bid, create whatever list you'd like. We can rearrange the order of those. And I might put in a complete checkbox. And once I've got all that set up, I simply say OK, close. We have to update our database to add those new fields. And we'll start and we'll say update. And in just a moment here, we'll see a new log created, and it will have those fields in it, and we can start populating it with data. And then we could use that. We'll go to our webinar, and we can pick a date. This happened yesterday, and who's responsible? Those guys are responsible. What's the problem? I don't know. Fix it. Status, it's open. And at some point, and maybe you're crossing over between status and complete here. That's maybe not a perfect example, but now I can run reports. It will show me every item on this job that has an open status that's not been marked complete. So an unlimited number of entries here to track any piece of information. I know some of my companies will have 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 different permits they're tracking, and they want to have a permit log, and so they're tracking that and the various statuses of those permits. So that covers the document control pretty well. Let's move on to contract control. Now, you'll notice that some of these items are going to be the same as you already have in job cost or project management. Understand that when we designed Timberline's job cost system, inherently we put some project management information in there. Now, so contracts goes to our contract system. The commitments is the same commitments you have in job cost. The enter estimates is exactly the same as you have in job cost. And I should have changed this description. This is miscellaneous field worksheets. I changed that during a demo and have failed to change it back. And again, that's in your job cost application already. You will be able to access that from either application. Anything that's in job cost, you'll be able to get at any of these 4 items from either application. What's new is the change order processing. You've got basic change order processing in your existing job cost. If you add this project management system, we're going to replace your project change order tracking in job cost with the change order tracking here. So I'm going to go ahead and start up a change request. Somebody has stuck up their hand. It may have started as an RFI. We'll come down here, and I'm going to pick one that's already out there already, being that I'm a poor typer, and we have limited time. So you'll notice there are 3 tabs on the bottom of the screen here. So this is the first screen of the change request. You know, the date, who is it going to, what is the status, what was the source, where did it come from, okay? You can change those descriptions. If there's a source number, do we expect an impact on the schedule? Define the scope, and of course you can define more than this space. You'll notice there's a scroll bar here. If we fill the box up, we'll be able to scroll up and down. Now, I'm going to skip the second tab here for a second. I'm going to move over to the price cost estimate tab. And essentially this is a view window, and I can change the view. I can change which columns show up in these views. So I can look at just the cost. And again, as I said earlier, there are a myriad of columns, and you get to choose which columns you want turned on or turned off, appropriate for your particular organization. And so if I come down to the vendor view, we're going to see Barth Electric gave us a quote for $425, impacting the schedule by half a day. If we had a commitment with them already, a purchase order or subcontract, we could pull up that list and associate this potential change with an existing contract we have out there. Notice on this particular job, we have a contractual agreement with the owner that any change order is going to get marked up 5% for overhead and 5% for profit. Okay, so we're getting a quote of $425. We're going to be able to bill $467 for that particular item. Now, as I come back over here, the detail tab is where the rubber hits the road. Okay, so as you look at this, this is where we define, for instance, where it's going to connect elsewhere in the system. So are we changing our contracts? Are we adding new line items or modifying existing line items there? Now, what was the origin? We've got some miscellaneous fields that you can rename to track additional information, generate reports. You know, when did we receive the notice to proceed or approval? Now, again, this is a change request, not a formal change order. Now, at this point, I could generate a form and email it directly to the appropriate party to see whether they're in agreement that they'll let us do this work for this, and they can initial it or sign it as they need. Once we have a change request in hand, or a series of change requests, oops, one too many clicks, I'm going to come to change orders, and you'll see I'm going to come down to this one. This is an actual change order, and this particular change order is actually comprised of 3 previous change requests. I could add more change orders, change requests. I can create new change requests. If I've got everything sitting in front of me, I want to generate this change and generate the change order and get the form out the door. I don't have to go through a multi-step process. Notice there's a button here called Release to Accounting. When you get project management throughout the system, wherever there's project management information, you have a concept called Release to Accounting, which is going to allow us to kick information directly to the accounting department. If I don't check this box, the accounting department doesn't see it, and we can control who releases this. So if I'm working on purchase orders or subcontracts or change orders and they're not done yet, I'm not ready to release them, we do not check the box. And or whether we can release and revise the contract amount. And we also have some other functions here, for instance, to update the job estimate. So on a change request, by the way, we can do the same thing. We may have already done the work, and we don't want our job cost report showing us over budget when, in fact, the paperwork hasn't caught up with the real world, so we can force those updates. Once we've created the change order, just like everything else, I can print that. And here's my change order. Original contract amounts, previous changes, new changes, revised contract amount, and a place for everybody to sign off. Again, you create these forms or modify them as you need them. So now once all of that is complete, I've got subcontractors and material suppliers who are going to be affected by that change order that's just been approved. And so we can take those change orders and push them downstream, and I'm not going to go through this due to time, change the existing purchase orders or subcontracts or create new purchase orders or subcontracts to send on to our suppliers. So I don't know that I've got anything. I don't even have anything set up out there on these changes yet. So, and of course, then we can generate the form and send it off. So a fully integrated process from top to bottom. You know, we're in the middle. You know, we've got upstream to the owner and downstream to the subcontractor. Very, very straightforward at this point. So right now I'm going to minimize the project management system, touch on the desktop for just a second, and notice we've been working through a whole series of screens, and suddenly you'll see, well, show me, you know, the billing summary on this project as a project manager. I can see that information right here. Let me see my correspondence log on this project. Okay, so I can look through all the correspondence on this project. So from one place outside of the project management application, if I wanted to, as a project manager, see the open invoices on this project, or if I wanted to, just look at, what else do I have in here? Well, of course, I've got all the project information in terms of dollars displayed here. So kind of labor status report I've got today. Okay, estimated hours, actual hours, remaining hours within that budget, what we're estimating the percent complete to be, how many hours to complete, so on. So again, your project managers and these screens can be customized. This is in fact a crystal report, and you can have access to see this information and very quickly fire off various things you need to do right from the desktop. So you don't in fact have to be inside the project management application to run these various tasks. Now, all that being said, let's take a few minutes for Construction Anywhere, and then we will open this up for question and answer. So, Construction Anywhere. I hit the right buttons here. Let's see. There we go. So, my session timed out, so I guess I'll need to log back in again. So you'll key in your email address and your password, and the system is going to log me into the cloud. And up there is some basic job information, but no job cost information, and at this point no project management information. And the first thing we get is a view that shows where our jobs are. In this case, we're showing a couple of the jobs. I could scroll in or scroll out depending on what I wanted to see, and there's another location of one of my jobs. As I look at, I'm on the home page right now. Just refresh that. And I do not have the world's speediest internet connection here, by the way. So as I scroll down, you'll notice I have 4 jobs that I'm being allowed to see. Okay, so by security, and security is completely separate in this system from the system you have in your office. So if you want to allow an owner in or a subcontractor in to look at certain information, you can certainly control that. It's completely separate from the security of your in-house system. Now, if I come into Clackamas Office Park, this is opening up that particular project. And, of course, you're going to have your project, your company name, and so forth up here. We can see general information about the job. Come on. I was doing this at a trade show 2 weeks ago using an iPad, and it was running much faster than here in my office. Core information about the job, and we can come in and look at our contacts. This takes and I don't have much set out here right now, only one. Okay, but one of the things that we can do today is reports. So let's say that there are a number of reports that I, as a project manager, am allowed to look at, and the system will bring up a list of those reports. So you may have 500 reports from AP, AR, GL, job cost, project management on your home office system. You will pick a selected subset of those based on logins, based on groups, and say that these people have access to these reports. And I can select this report. If there are any runtime questions, the system will ask me those runtime questions, and then I can see where it says request this report. I'll request it. I ran this a little earlier today. Notice I requested it at 1:36, And at, what time was it? 1:38, there it is. Let me open this up. At 1:38, the system sent me an email telling me that that report had been finished and at 1:38 and was available now for me to view. And it will remain available for me to view until I delete it out of there. And of course, I ran a report that didn't have any data. That was pretty good. I didn't even look at it earlier. I thought I'd try something different today. So very quickly, since we're running out of time, the system is going to allow you to grant access in a remote fashion in the field to people you've selected to see selected information. As time goes forward, more and more functionality will be added to Sage Construction Anywhere. Just so you know, real quickly on a pricing structure, there are two components to make the system run. Component number one is a $599 piece of software that has to be loaded where your Timberline Office server is. That is the piece that communicates with the servers up in the cloud, handles all the requests of information going back and forth. The second piece is a monthly fee to support the cloud and the servers in the cloud and so forth. It is sold on a per company basis, and it is $99 a month. Not very expensive in the grand scheme of things. So that pretty much winds up, the hour we've got here. We've used up 55 minutes at this point.